Hello everyone. This is my channel where I upload stories that are written by me. This is a story of a thief who escaped death in a very strange manner. Let's see how it all happened. Raghu was fast asleep in a small hut. It was midnight, and a dim lamp flickered, casting shadows on the walls. Suddenly, a sharp knock at the door jolted him awake. Fear gripped him until he heard a hushed voice whisper, "Son, son, open the door." His heart raced as he recognized the voice. It was his father. Raghu was young, but he knew well enough that his father was a thief. Long ago, there was a city surrounded by dense forests on all sides. Narrow bridleways wound through the woods, connecting the city to other towns and settlements. Deep within the forest stood a small hut where Raghu lived with his father. His father was a notorious thief, known throughout the region. Raghu had never known his mother, and his father had been imprisoned by the king of the province. As soon as Raghu heard his father's voice, he quickly opened the door. His father, panting and wounded, explained that he had escaped from prison and that the royal guards were close behind him. Raghu's eyes widened as he noticed the heavy bleeding and the pain etched on his father's face. Fear and worry gripped him, but before he could say or do anything, his father spoke in a weak voice. "I may not survive these wounds or escape the royal guards," he said. "I came here just to see you one last time. I must leave now. I can't risk the guards finding you." Before leaving, his father gripped his shoulder and said, "Never listen to any sadhu and never live among good people." He kissed Raghu's forehead, whispered, "May Ma Kali protect you," then extinguished the lamp. As he stepped out into the night, he told Raghu to shut the door behind him. Raghu sat in the darkness and cried the whole night. The next morning, Raghu burned down the hut and left. He always remembered his father's last words and followed them without question. Over time, he became an excellent thief, just like his father. Few people knew his true identity, but his skills were unmatched. He committed numerous thefts without ever being caught. Raghu avoided sadhus and stayed away from good company, just as his father had warned. His reputation grew among the thief community, which consisted of low-scale criminals who worshipped Ma Kali. Raghu gained immense respect and fame within this circle, becoming a well-known and admired figure among the thieves. One day, Raghu learned about the king's treasury, a prize greater than anything he had ever stolen. Having committed many small thefts, he now craved something bigger. This was his chance to make a name for himself and live up to his father's legacy. Determined and excited, Raghu traveled to the city where the king resided. To get close to the treasure, he joined the palace as a servant. He quietly performed odd jobs, all the while gathering crucial information about the palace and the treasury's location to plan the perfect heist. Weeks passed, and Raghu's sharp mind and quick wit made him stand out among the other servants. Before long, he was appointed as a prince's personal servant, exactly what he had been aiming for, as the prince's chamber was close to the treasury. The prince was young but strong and well-mannered, treating everyone with kindness regardless of their status. However, the prince suffered from a sleep disorder that caused him to walk in his sleep. To manage this, the head servant was tasked with giving him medicine every night before bed. Finally, the day arrived, a no-moon night, perfect for executing the theft. Raghu had carefully planned his escape route and was ready to put his plan into action. As night fell and the servants gathered for dinner, Raghu mixed a potent herbal concoction known for causing instant deep sleep into the head servant's food. He also slipped the same mixture into the food of the guard stationed outside the treasury. This ensured that he could take the head servant's place in delivering the prince's medicine that night. When it was time, Raghu entered the prince's chamber, but instead of giving him the real medicine, he handed him a harmless substitute, knowing it would have no effect. Past midnight, after everyone had fallen asleep except for the royal guards, Raghu put on his servant attire and quietly made his way toward the treasury room. He carried the original medicines with him as a backup plan. If any guard stopped him, he would claim he was delivering the prince's real medication. Just in case things went south, he also carried a knife. Moving silently through the dark hallways, Raghu reached the treasury room. As expected, the guards were unconscious from the herbs. He slipped inside and began filling his bag with as many precious gems, gold, silver, and priceless stones as he could carry. Just as he was about to leave, he froze. The prince was walking toward him, but he was sleepwalking. Raghu stood still, hoping the prince would pass by. But suddenly, the prince stumbled over one of the unconscious guards and collapsed. The fool woke him up. Now wide awake, the prince locked eyes with Raghu. Raghu's mind raced. The prince could shout, alert the other guards, and have him executed on the spot. Panic surged through him. He had never been in a situation like this before. Before he could think further, his hand acted on instinct. A sharp knife flew through the air and pierced the prince's chest. The prince's eyes widened in shock as he collapsed to the ground. Raghu stood frozen, his breathing sharp and uneven. He had never killed anyone before, and now he had just murdered the prince. For a few moments, he stood motionless, struggling to process what he had done. For the first time, Raghu felt guilt creeping into his heart. But he quickly regained his composure and slipped back to his room. He decided not to escape the palace that night. If he disappeared, his absence would raise suspicion. Everyone knew his face since he had been living there for a long time. The king would surely have him hunted down and executed. Raghu also left the loot behind in the treasury. Carrying it would only create problems if he stayed. That night, sleep eluded him. His mind kept replaying the moment the prince fell. The prince had done nothing wrong. He didn't deserve to die. Raghu remembered his father's last words: never listen to any sadhu and never stay in the company of good people. He had always followed that advice. But the prince's kindness had left a mark on him. Guilt stirred inside him, but then he recalled his father's broken body, bleeding and in pain after escaping from prison. That memory hardened him, and he forced himself to bury the guilt. The next morning, chaos erupted in the palace. Raghu was immediately summoned by the king, as he was the last person to give medicine to the prince before he slept. Dragged into the court, Raghu was beaten mercilessly, but he never confessed. He kept repeating that he knew nothing about the murder. The king was furious, but the court had no solid evidence to prove Raghu was a culprit. After publicly humiliating him, the king ordered that Raghu be held captive while the investigation continued. It was decided that if no other suspect was found within 15 days, Raghu would be prosecuted and hanged. Until then, the truth was to be forced out of him. Raghu was bleeding from his mouth, his face swollen beyond recognition, and his legs fractured from the brutal beatings. He was chained and dragged toward the Kala Kathori dark prison. As he was being taken there, he noticed a sadhu sitting outside the jail, preaching to a crowd. Raghu immediately remembered his father's words, never listen to any sadhu. But as they approached, the sadhu's words started creeping into his ears. Raghu wanted to block them out, but his chained hands made it impossible. He wanted to scream, but his wounded mouth wouldn't let him. Despite his struggle, he couldn't stop himself from hearing a few haunting words. Gods do not have shadows. He desperately wished to unhear it, but it was too late. They reached the jail, and Raghu was locked in a dark room with a small window. A thin beam of sunlight streamed through, cutting the darkness in front of him. The king had ordered a thorough investigation and announced that anyone who could make Raghu confess the truth would be handsomely rewarded. Despite an intense search, the investigators found no concrete evidence to prove Raghu's innocence or his guilt. Still, the investigation continued. Days passed, and many people tried different methods to break Raghu. Some tortured him brutally, others played mind games, but Raghu remained unyielding, never revealing the truth. Yet, his mind was consumed by one thing: the words he had heard from the sadhu. Gods do not have shadows. He tried desperately to forget it, but the more he fought it, the deeper it etched itself into his mind. The king then summoned a renowned investigator known for his unmatched ability to extract the truth from even the most hardened criminals. He was called the Berupiya, a master of fear and deception. Berupiya arrived at the court, brimming with confidence. He assured the king that he could uncover whether Raghu was lying or telling the truth, and claimed that he alone deserved the reward. It was already the 14th day of Raghu's imprisonment. Beru-Pia declared that he would visit Ragu's chamber at midnight. It was a full moon night. Beru-Pia disguised himself as Ma Kali, intending to create an illusion inside Ragu's chamber using hallucinogenic gases. His plan was to exploit Ragu's belief, knowing that the thief community worshipped Ma Kali. In a hallucinating state, Beru-Pia was confident Ragu would reveal the truth. This method had always worked for him before. Beru-Pia entered the chamber while Ragu was asleep and infused the room with the gas. Ragu woke up, trembling at the terrifying sight before him. Under the gas's effect, he started hallucinating. Beru-Pia, posing as Ma Kali, demanded to know the truth about the murder. Despite being in a trance, Ragu's gaze shifted toward the shadow of Beru-Pia, clearly visible under the moonlight streaming through the small window. The sadhu's words echoed in his mind. Gods do not have shadows. Realizing the deception, Ragu denied any involvement in the murder and claimed he had no idea who committed it. Seeing his plan fail, Beru-Pia vanished from the chamber. The Beru-Pia went to the king and informed him that Ragu was not the culprit. He suggested that the murder might have been orchestrated by a rival king who wanted to prevent the king from having a successor. Ragu was released the next morning. He walked slowly out of the jail gate, his body aching from the brutal tortures and beatings. He saw the sadhu sitting alone, his followers not yet arrived. Ragu's tired eyes met the sadhu's calm gaze. Tears welled up in Ragu's eyes as he softly said, "Father." The sadhu's eyes widened in shock. "Ragu, is that you?" When Ragu was taken to the jail, he heard the sadhu say, "Gods do not have shadows." He had never wanted to listen to anything from any sadhu. Those were his father's last words. He constantly tried to forget the phrase, but instead of fading, it became imprinted in his mind due to continuous repetition. One day, the sadhu's voice suddenly seemed very familiar. It sounded like his father's. Ragu tried to recall the sadhu's face, but the dense white beard concealed most of it. However, the eyes, he remembered those eyes. Ragu became almost certain that the sadhu was his father, but how could that be? How was he alive? And why was he disguised as a sadhu? Ragu's mind was flooded with questions and curiosity. This was why he couldn't think of anything else in the chamber except the sadhu's words. And this was also why he never confessed. Even after brutal torture, he needed to come out and find the truth about the sadhu. They both tightly hugged each other, tears streaming down their faces. Ragu's father said that after their last meeting, he had run into the jungle to escape from the royal guards. He was bleeding heavily and, while running through the dense forest, he fell into an abyss. His body was severely wounded, and he was on the verge of death. When his eyes opened, he found himself in a monastery where some monks were tending to his wounds. They nursed him back to life, and he lived with them for years. Ragu's father regretted the last words he had spoken to his son. He believed that the only way he could find his son was near the jail. So, from that day on, he sat there every day, waiting with the hope that one day Ragu would appear.